right. Well, welcome to Yada Yada Boom. This is going to be fun today as we've decided that we're going to talk about the power of your why. And so, Robert, most certainly you brought this up as you had a really cute little saying.
It was let's meet at the Y, but not the YMCA. Let's meet at the WHY.
Let's meet at the Y. So today we're going to meet at the Y, and we both thought it'd be pretty smart to kind of say, why is it that we have chosen the path in life that we have chosen? So, Robert, did you want me to start on that, or would you like to take it away?
I I frankly think your story in the context of what we briefly plan to talk about is a lot more compelling. So why don't you start?
Oh, well, I firmly believe that everybody has a story and nobody's is better than anybody else's. It's just your journey in your life. And so, yes, mine has a boom moment maybe in there. But I have suffered with weight issues my entire life. And so by the time I was, maybe fifth grade, I was kind of a chunky monkey. And moving through all of those school years where I was bullied, I was made fun of for it. Um, it gave me a pretty poor relationship with food. I really did not understand nutrition, nor was that emulated in my house. We had something called the Clean Plate Club. I don't know.
Uh,
Have you ever heard of the Clean Plate
I
Club?
can imagine
Okay.
what it is, but I don't know what
Yeah.
I don't know that
So
I've ever heard it that way.
we were rewarded for the Clean Plate Club with a sticker.
Oh,
And
was
the
the
way
sticker
that it
edible?
worked is
Was
my
the
mom was
sticker was it an edible sticker?
it was not an edible
Oh,
sticker. But they were butterflies, Robert, and I loved butterflies.
so
And
that
each
even
of the little
more.
we were only allowed to pick from this one page until they were all gone. And there was only one green butterfly. And for some reason, I was in love with this green butterfly. So I wanted it. Well, yes, my sister and myself at the table, but my mom also ran a daycare. And so there's lots of kids sitting at the table. And so I wanted the green sticker. So I would eat the entire plate of food, which,
Yep.
Clean Plate Club. And then I'd be the first one to be able to pick the sticker. So it really did create an overeating type of a situation
Yeah.
for me, eating too quickly. And then, of course, not understanding portion size, because, of course, when you're eating quickly and you're just eating what's on your plate, you eat too much. Anyway, so moving through all of those wonderful years, I did try some diets just to kind of lose some weight. You do that comparative reality, you
Sure.
versus all the other people in school. So I was always the bigger girl. I'm very tall. Okay, so Robert, you and I have stood next to each other.
Yeah,
I'm
you're about
incredibly
same.
tall.
I think you're the same height as me, probably. We're close to
Oh,
5'11", all right?
yeah, I'm pretty close. So I've shrunk now over
Mhm.
time. We won't talk about that, but I'm a tall person, and so I carried my weight completely differently than a lot of my friends. And so when I'm looking at their body types, I just was always like, I'm fat.
Yeah.
I'm the big girl. I wear a larger size than all the other people do. Um, and so it was awful. It was awful. I moved into the adult years, and of course, those habits of overeating and eating too fast followed me like through my career path. I was in a retail management position, and when we got to eat, you shovel it in, and then you go back out and
Yeah.
do the things because you don't really get time down.
Right.
And my weight skyrocketed during those years. Skyrocketed. I started having horrible pain in my hips, my knees, my ankles. Keep itching my face. I apologize. There's something tickling me here.
So it's way more than just body image and weight. Your health and your body was starting to suffer from this.
Yes, it
Yeah.
did. I ended up with what they called arthritis and bursitis in my hips, my knees, and my ankles. And I was in my really young 30s. And so was on anti-inflammatory medications. I was going to physical therapy. I like to say it, no, no offense, but I was wearing grandma shoes.
Yeah.
Okay. They come white, black, Velcro, or tie. I did not wear the Velcro ones, but I would put on these orthopedic grandma shoes and I would go to my meetings. I would wear them to work because I was wearing a business suit. And so I'd wear these awful tennis shoes to drive over an hour, set up the store, do whatever I needed to do. And then I would put on my heels and it was an excruciating pain all day long, like lifting my legs up to sit on a stool, lifting my legs into the car at the end of the night because it was just so painful. And I had just not a good quality of life at all. Now, as far as trying all of the different nutritional types of things, I did every
So
diet.
Weight Watchers.
Oh, 3 times.
Okay.
Yep. Did
My
that
mom
three
was a
times.
Weight Watchers coach at one point in the 70s.
Okay. So with Weight Watchers, no discredits to the programming that they have, but for me, it was back on a points system back then each time. And so I would choose my points to fit my palate. So if I wanted the bag of M&Ms rather than actually fueling my body with real nutrition, yeah, you could have that. But what did that do?
Yeah.
Nothing.
Just empty calories, really.
Just empty calories. I obsessed about food. I did more formal programming. I did, I went to the doctor, eat less, move more. Here's a pill. I did it all.
Yeah.
And with some of those, yes, I was able to lose some weight, which was all fine and dandy until I got to a comfortable spot or I lost interest or life got in the way. And so I would end up gaining all of that weight back. And so I was just yo-yo dieter all over the place.
Yeah.
And
My
so
mom was that, Kate. My mom was that
was she?
in the 70s. She gained, not to interrupt, but of course I did.
No.
I don't recall it precisely, but I remember her saying my brother and sister are twins. And she told me that she went from around 130 to 257 carrying them. And then she struggled to ever lose the weight. She nearly doubled her body weight. She always struggled to lose weight after that and yo-yo dieted.
It's
so
really difficult.
I've seen it.
Yeah, it's really difficult. Really, really difficult when it's been on the body to get rid of it. And like we'll get into this more about mindset and all of that kind of stuff. But for me, I had watched a friend do a program. I actually watched her for 2 years. And my snide little brain, don't know if you have the same type of brain. I looked at her, I was like, well, I can't wait for her to gain that back. That's not very
Misery
nice.
loves company.
Right. So I was like, she's going to do what I've always done. Good for you losing it, but good for you gaining it back because that's what people do.
Yeah.
And after I watched her, she actually was able to keep it off. And I'm like, why is it so different what she's doing than what I've ever done? So when the pain got to be too much, I have, children. So my daughter had said, hey, let's go do whatever. And I was in such a painful, awful spot. My answer was always no. And very quickly recognized it was just not the mom that I wanted to be. I wanted to be involved. I wanted to be physically active with them. And I was literally watching them from the sidelines. You go to the park and where do you see the moms?
Yeah.
Sitting on the bench.
Yep.
I didn't want to be that mom. I wanted to be the mom that's running around with their kids. So I started a wonderful health program in April of 2016 and very quickly realized how different it was from anything that I'd ever done. Over just about 8 months' time, by December of that same year, I lost 107 pounds.
I know.
Insane.
And Amma was watching you for a year or two.
Yes, she was, which was one. Thank you for social media, being able to watch somebody transform their life. But it was incredibly impactful for me to do a healthy lifestyle with other people, utilizing all of the different aspects that this program had to offer. And quickly realized that I just wanted to get under 200 pounds to start. And then I was like, wow, well, if I can do that.
Don't you call that something? What's that you call
Wonderland.
it? Wonderland.
We call it Wonderland.
Wonderland.
Yes. So made it into Wonderland. It's a place that you always want to be because, of course, as a healthy adult, your number should start with a 1 unless you're really, 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 really short. So anyway, I lost that 100. Well, I got under the 200. I saw other people in my community that were able to lose 100 pounds. I'm like, well, if they can do it, why can't I? And so I did. I ended up losing that 100 pounds, which was great. But then what happened after that was really the best part. I learned in 2017 how to maintain a healthy weight. I really understood all the choices that are out there in the world. And I really worked on my mindset when I was losing that 100 pounds and, of course, continue to do so now. I am all those pounds down still. It is 2024. I am the healthiest and most fit that I have ever been in my existence. Okay, Robert, you loved exercise. Like you were addicted at a very, very young age.
Exactly.
Not that girl. I was not that girl. Yes, I was active. Yes, I did sports. I was a swimmer through high school. I still swam, I danced, I did all of that kind of thing, but in a body type that, you know, you drink water and gain weight,
Right.
exercise was not a weight loss technique, nor is it for anybody. You can never outrun a fork, never. Um, but anyway, that was my huge changing turning point in my life. And as I started to recognize that I could accomplish anything, I started coaching other people, doing the same types of things that I was doing, and I was helping them lose massive amounts of weights, really getting better numbers, you know, at the doctor, truly creating health in their life. Um, and then I really started to branch off into other aspects because, of course, not everybody does need to lose weight. Some people need to gain weight, which I
Right.
do know your story. So I helped a personal trainer even gain 10 pounds of muscle because utilizing the correct nutrition, you can really come alongside somebody and help them towards their goals. So it completely transformed my life, not just for weight, but then I finally found my purpose. And so I really love what I do. It started with the whole health coaching thing. I'm now moving into more of the life coaching side of things. And it's all because of what I've done for myself, really starting to utilize and learn how the brain works, how the body works, how we can bring all of that together. And it's more than just like you and I have talked, that this is not just about losing weight and health. It's about how does that transform into all areas of your life. So when you lead yourself well and you're giving yourself the proper things throughout the day, you show up better as a mom, a husband, a wife. You show up better as a career person, like in your business, because you're just leading yourself well. So that is my little boom moment for my
Yeah.
health story. So I want to ask you about yours a little bit before we dig into our little why aspect of things.
Sure.
So I know that you're a little opposite of needing to lose the weight. So what is your health journey been?
Well, I shared on the last episode my aversion to being called skinny. How I hated that. So I was always super lean. Um, my background is uh, my mom divorced my dad when I was a couple of years old. I was raised in a family where I had a different last name, and I always felt a little bit different. But they also, my stepfather, who raised me and provided for me, always had a different body type. He was stout and stocky, but he was an overeater as well. And so my relationship with food probably began kind of the opposite way, where it's that singular story, you know, it follows through life when you don't know much about anything and there's a single story, you know, fat people are lazy, that type of thing. Um, you can take it into social justice, and people that live, you know, in cloistered white areas think all black people are criminals because they see TV shows or something. And my singular story with weight was that, well, fat people are lazy. Now, my mom wasn't lazy. She gained a lot of weight after childbirth, but my stepfather wasn't lazy, but he didn't do a lot to help himself. He worked and provided and didn't do a lot to help himself. So I was always probably pretty wired to be different than that because I was different. I was the kid with a different name in the family and always had my sense of identity. So psychologically, I think that's what made me a little bit different. Um, but I was never a really, really big eater, and I wasn't a fast eater. Um, Loved fitness. I always struggled to keep weight on and was very self-conscious about my weight. But as I got older, I realized, you know, in my 20s, Kate, I would have McDonald's, Big Macs, and ice creams from Dairy Queen. You know, the guys at work would run out with us and we'd go get ice cream at Dairy Queen. I'd have 2 or 3 or 4 cans of Dr. Pepper or something like that through the day, a lot of
Right.
empty calories. I learned that I couldn't do that. I would slowly back away from that, but I always had a sweet tooth. So, what kind of brought us together, I thought the audience would like to hear. What brought you and I together was the program you were on. She wanted to do it. She said, like you did, if she can do it, I can do it. And Amma never struggled with weight in the same way you did, but she was struggling with her weight, her ability to move around and go hiking and do things. She was struggling with diabetes, all of that. And I wanted at first, I wanted in part to be able to empathize with her. What is she going through? Um, and I thought, well, one way I can do that is I can address my bad habits, maybe by using some of the techniques and the program that she was doing alongside you as her coach. And I have to admit, I was having an affair with little Debbie.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
little
call her little
Debbie.
diabetes. Her
Yeah,
name's
well,
little
mine was little
diabetes.
Debbie and the Nutty Buddy bars. I would buy Nutty Buddy bars and have them handy in the house. And I realized that for me to properly support Amma, I couldn't have that stuff around. And it wasn't really serving me well anyway. I was a runner then and not as serious as I was. So my why was not as strong. Um, Part of it was, and this is something that I've been slowly ruminating about, it's why not. I have a lot of drive toward why not. Like, why not try this? Why not do this? Why not be curious and do something different? So mine was in part that too. It was a why not?
I
Why not
like
try
this.
this? It's not going to kill you. You don't need these little Debbie bars, and that was a big part of it. Now I have worked since. I rarely have that type of stuff in the house anymore. Um, I always said, and maybe you taught me this: you buy your willpower at the food
Yes,
store,
sir.
right? You can walk
Yes,
past
you
it in the
do.
store, you're less likely to drive out or go get
Don't
that.
bring it in the house. Yep.
So I'm not typically tempting myself. And my temptations we talked last time tends to be towards alcohol or ice cream. When it's not alcohol, it's going to be ice cream, but it's another story. So that's something of my why. Right now, I'm in a mode of trying to uh, have more holistic body fitness. I know that as you get older, it's harder to build body mass. It's harder to build muscle. So I'm getting to that age where I'd rather put in the effort now, build some of that muscle and, be able to remain flexible, remain strong, be able to fall. Quite frankly, that's what takes down a lot of
Yes.
older people. I've seen that.
Break a hip and you're done.
Yeah. I
Yep.
mean, and I had a pretty nasty
True.
bike accident just 2 years ago and landed on my hip at 28 miles an hour and
Mm.
somehow walked away from it with what would turn out to be a really nasty hematoma, but nothing broken. And
Good.
part of why I'm driven is because to maintain some body mass is, yes, there's an insecurity. I don't like feeling skinny. And I know that, I could work on that. We shouldn't worry about what we perceive people think of us. But it's also because I like to be active. I like to be mobile. I ride my road bike. I ride fast. I go down hills quickly. I know I'm
Right.
putting myself a little bit at risk, and I have had some falls, usually at low speed. But when I've had enough muscle and stronger bones to
Right.
support uh, accidents that you don't want them to happen, but frankly they do happen.
Of
And
course
as I
you
get
do.
older,
Can I
I
ask
don't
you real
I don't want
quick
to fall
though?
over and break my bones.
How old are, do we ever say how old you are?
I'm 62 now,
It's
so
amazing, right? You are a
yeah.
very fit, healthy 62-year-old.
Thank you. I think so. I'm pretty sure I am. And I have people in the industry tell me that I'm one of the fittest they know. I've seen, there's always somebody who's more than, somebody's got more money, somebody who's runs
Well, that
faster,
comparative.
stronger,
Mm-hmm.
more fit. I did 2 years ago, I set a push-up goal. COVID, I didn't want to go to the gym. So I set a push-up goal. Um, of 50,000 push-ups for the year, which is 150 some a day or something, I think. And I ended up doing 57,000. So it was like 160, 159. I don't remember the number now per day. And, that's also what really drives me is having a goal, being able to measure that goal and
Yes.
achieving it, tracking it and graphing it and
SMART
doing
goal.
all the
Yeah.
dorky geeked out things that
Oh, I love it.
Excel
It's a
users like
SMART
to do.
goal. It's the best kind that you can possibly have.
Yeah, so I'm not the type that needs to go to the gym, with a lot of people around me because I'm pretty motivated and focused on a goal.
Right.
And that we talked about how does this relate to business? Well, if you come into your job like mine, which is a sales-based job, I'd say it's more of a solutions job, trying to help people align them
Right.
to what we offer, to what they need. But having said that, I believe that my interest in fitness is related in part to my ability to track it, monitor it, and set goals. If I lived on a beach and just went running every day for you know, 50 minutes, I'd say, I need a watch. I need GPS. I need to know how far I went,
Right.
how fast I went. I need to have a goal. I need to improve on that goal. That's just who I am. So,
Right. Mr.
Amma says
Data.
I need to have somebody driving me, and I'm the opposite. It's kind of like I don't need anybody. I
You
got my,
drive yourself, which is amazing. Your why is deep rooted in what you do for yourself.
But it applies to the way I work too.
Yes.
I come into the day having certain things to accomplish. I have goals. Of course, companies, whenever you're in a sales-based position, always have sales goals. But what gets me up is tracking against those goals, but really providing support to people that are going to help me get those goals. And that's been the big transformation for me. And we can talk about that on another episode, is that my transformation has probably been less around health and fitness and more around mindset and seeing the world differently and being more empathetic and those sorts of things. So it
Yeah, I
was
think there's just a
empathy that I was starting
natural.
to teach myself that brought me toward what Amma was doing and,
Yes.
aligned in your circle.
In our little circle of things, and something that I talk about a lot with my clients, and something that I had to dig down deep and continually have to dig down deep to continue on this path. Because most of us are not wired like you, where you just like, oh, this is how, like, that's just how your brain is wired. A lot of us have to be motivated intrinsically from some extrinsic types of
Right.
things.
Right.
And so being able to dig deep and attach them to where it is that we want to go, we create some structural tension where it's going to pull us towards what it is that we want most. So when I first started my journey, I was in excruciating pain. I was so incredibly uncomfortable. Sleeping, standing, awake,
Yeah.
I was just a mess. And so my original why was I just want to lose some weight.
Yeah.
And after I started to feel better and started to recognize that the pain that I was in was completely attached to what I was putting in my mouth, I had no clue that I was causing myself
Right.
such inflammation, that my why started to transform. And what used to drive me of, I just want to get under 200 pounds. Of course, you get under 200 pounds, that's not going to drive you anymore.
Right.
And so recognizing that, oh, maybe if I start looking at this not like a diet, yes, it's like losing weight was a side effect of the program that I was doing, but I was gaining health. I was gaining my life back. And so my why started to transform into, okay, why do I want to continue to make the right choices?
Right.
Because of course I wasn't done. And I still have to ask myself quite often, why do I not want to pick up, the piece of pizza versus having, the protein and the veggies over here? Well, because what I want most is to not have food hangover. Okay, that's a real thing. I don't know if you've experienced it. Food hangover is a real thing. I feel like garbage after I eat garbage. Fast food, not in a million years.
Yeah.
Never did I think that that would be a thing where I could drive past and not be like, ooh, Big Mac. Blech. Nope. I am so far past that. But my why has morphed this entire time. And so instead of looking for that immediate gratification of something, utilizing the brain to say, okay, but what do I want most? What do I have in the future that I really want? Now I've been in the same size clothing for several years to where I didn't realize it was a thing. Like, I do not, like, I have to get rid of clothes because they get holes in them.
Yeah.
Who knew? Who
Yeah.
knew? Like, oh, the jeans, they actually still fit, but I just ripped the thing off of them because they're threadbare.
Yeah.
Anyway, so recognizing that I want to just go into my closet and have the brain space to know that absolutely everything fits the second that I put it on, and I'm not wasting time with bad self-talk and being like, oh, so fat. Oh,
Yeah.
this makes me look, does this make my butt look big?
Yeah.
Us girls would say that. No, your butt makes your butt look big. But when you
Yeah. I
when
don't
you've
I don't
not,
dare say that very often. I'll
you
tell
don't
you that.
don't ever say that to your wife. Your wife and I are very good friends. Don't you ever say that. But to be able to make the decision and look at whatever's in front of me and be like, that's not for me, because what I want most is to feel confident when I put my clothes on. What I want most is to stand at the front of the room and not think twice about what other people are thinking of me, and just be able to speak and speak life into people.
So what I
And
like
if I
about, go ahead.
go ahead, no, you,
What I like about this kind of, I wouldn't say necessarily odd couple, but this pairing that we've decided to do on this podcast, yada, yada, boom, is that my mind is constantly churning and saying, okay, I know there's people that I know just strictly through business that hopefully have listened to this point, right? Um,
right.
what's a takeaway for them beyond just their health and so forth? And for me, it's kind of like this. if you do things the same way all the time, you're going to get the same result. I mean, we all know that. But, you need to challenge yourself. And what you've done is challenged yourself to think differently, to not only eat differently, but to learn about the triggers or whatever it is that cause you to have the relationship you did with food, and to make changes and then stay with them. And that goes to learning these days. One of the big things I see in the industry I'm in is people people are generally older. We all recognize in our industry we're generally older, and we talk about bringing new people into the industry. And how do we do that? One of the things that I read and hear from younger generation, millennials, younger millennials, Gen Z, is, we want a more inclusive environment. Everybody think
Right.
that's sometimes uh, inclusive can mean lots of
Whatever.
things to lots
Right.
of people, and some people have their trigger moments over it. Um, but inclusive just means they want to be heard. They don't want to just be told to do something. They want to understand, let's say, a company strategy. They want to be heard. They want their opinions to at least be heard and hopefully have some merit. They want to be maybe have a little more flexibility, and it requires people like me that were raised with a Protestant work ethic, like to, sometimes like to manage by walking around. We want you in the office so we can see if you're working, that kind of
Right.
attitude. You just show up and work and stop asking for all these benefits like, mental health care and unlimited time off, pay time off, or pet care, pet services, or um, flexible work from home, hybrid. um, we have to really adapt ourselves and push ourselves out of our comfort zone. So that's why I liked the idea of you and I talking, because I see so many correlations between uh, people that have been on the journey you've been on and where we need to go as an industry, and people on the other end listening to this need to go too. If they want to be successful in building their teams or their companies really into the future, can't do things the same way. We've gotten, a little bit fat and lazy sometimes, and the workers are becoming harder to retain. And the smart companies that are smaller and more nimble are going to offer the flexibility and things we don't. So to me, that
Right.
all goes to having to train your mind to be different. And I was not an empathetic person. I did not care too much about anybody's situation. Just suck it up, pull yourself up by your bootstraps kind of attitude. And
Right.
it relates to what you've done. You've had to change the way you see things.
Right. And I think that's a whole nother episode that we can kind of even talk on, is starting to recognize where you're at. Like something we'll talk about, like below the line and above the line, and recognize, am I closed off? Do I need to be right? Or am I open and curious? And really
Right.
starting to learn both for yourself, for the people around you, be like, wait a minute, I can feel that I'm closed off because I want to be right. Like this is the only way to do it. And as you're learning in the business industry, where the youngsters that are coming in, they have lived in a life where there is more flexibility and it
Right.
still works. It actually works incredibly well because they have a quality of life and they have a better quality of work because they have more of a balance versus how we were taught back in the day. Like you had to show up to work, you must be here at a certain time. I have like that thumb pressing on you
Right.
versus being able to think in a way where I now know that I do better creatively. I do work from home. I actually work from any place that I'm at,
Yes.
any time of day. It doesn't matter the time of day, it doesn't matter the day of the week. If I have something to do, I'm going to do it when it fits best into my schedule. It doesn't mean that I'm not doing it. I'm just
Right.
not doing it 9 to 5, Monday through Friday. It might be a 3 p.m. on a Sunday after
Yeah.
I
And
do,
it's hard.
kid
It's
stuff.
it's hard for me to have the. I've been working from home now for the last 6 years, I'd say, at least five. And now I travel a lot, but it's hard for me to
Right.
tell people. I manage a small team of people in our Allen, Texas office as well. It's hard for me to say, "Oh no, you all have to be in the office." I'm not in the office.
Right.
Um, and yeah, there's people who can abuse that, and we've had situations where people have abused that privilege of being able to work from home. Some people don't want to work from home, right? They don't want to worry about the dog barking or the kids around, or they don't have as comfortable a space or as good an internet connection or the dual monitor. So it's different for everybody. I just know that I work in an industry that's been fantastic to me, but it is a bit rigid and staid and stodgy. And I know what we're struggling with, and that is building for the next generation. And there's still a lot of resistance to it. There's still a lot of
I'm sure.
resistance. We go to seminars, we go to conferences, people talk. And then people go back and do the same things. And it's so similar to health and fitness. You hear, you know what you have to do. You hear about it, you believe it, but you go back to the same thing and, have the big steak
Right.
and the mashed potatoes and the dessert and a beer or
So
two. And
many, yes,
you
I'm
say you're going to
on
work out harder
business and
tomorrow at the
uh-huh,
gym. And it's
it's what
like,
everybody else is doing,
yeah,
or it's, well, this is what we do. It's really difficult to make better decisions because everybody's doing it. There's so much that stems all the way back down to that different way of thinking, which we're going to do a lot of talk, I think, on the different way of thinking because it is for every portion of life. But getting back to, meet me at the why.
right.
Why is it that we do these same behaviors, or we have these same thought processes passed down through business, through, health, through life to your kids? And it's just because I mean, we're going to get into brain stuff too, understanding neural pathways. If you think about that brain and how the decisions have been made, it's like a river. And so it's going to continuously go down the same exact way that the river has always gone, unless we start to build that little tributary off to the side
Right.
and say, okay, we know that we don't want to continue to go down this path. So how do we start to train our brain to go down a side path? And since you are on autopilot for so many different things, once again, the whole brain thing, like you sit there and you think we're still a caveman inside there. It's just, you're trying to
Yeah. It's
make
the old
sure,
amygdala is the first
yeah,
area
you've
that,
automized so much
yeah.
that this new thing is difficult to remember because you're so automized looking for that bear to come after you, and you have to be aware so
Right.
that you don't, get eaten. So when we really start to consciously look at the thought processes behind the businessmen that are like, oh no, we have to have them in the office. Well, why do we
Yeah.
have to have them in the office? And start to really open up that train of thinking. We can go into this so deep. I
Yeah.
don't want to go so deep. The whole why behind everything, the why behind my daily choices leads me to a better business life, leads me to a better everything. I am definitely a better mom because I take care of me first.
Yeah.
And why do I do that? Well, because I want to be a better mom now. Now that I've proven to myself that putting me first allows me to do so, it makes it a lot easier for us showing up on here. This, I love what we're doing. I don't care. It's for us, right? This is a
Yeah.
creativity outlet.
Yeah, I think that's a great way to summarize. This is already challenging me to be more me because I knew that when I asked you to do this alongside me, because I had been dabbling in this on my own,
Right.
I knew that one of the things that I wanted to work on was I'm holding myself back,
Right.
partly because I like to go places that are a little more radical than people want to hear about. So this isn't the venue for that. But I want to be more me and less worried about how I look in front of the camera or did I bumble over that word and things like that. Because when I'm really me and my authentic self, I at least have this vision that I have something to say and people tell me they want to hear it. And you're helping, these things are helping me to unlock that. And I think that's fantastic. So if nothing else,
Yeah.
that's what I accomplish is something that I can stay focused on, similar to exercise. Every week we sit down and just have fun doing these things. And let's see who wants to join us. And I sure hope people throw some comments in here. And I look forward to having a person or two on in the near future, at least, but certainly in the
Yes.
future.
Absolutely. And I'm really glad that you said, inviting me onto this. I am not as worried anymore after these 8 years about what people think or how I'm seen or perceived. Yes, I'm going to put my best foot forward, but I'm authentically just who I am. And I possibly spray that out very
Right.
quickly and loudly. And I'm not like, I'm looking directly at you and just having a conversation because I'm so incredibly comfortable with who I've become.
Right.
It was not like that a long time ago. So why am I showing up here with you? Because my gosh, we just connect on a level. It's just weird. Like we're two really random people that can come together and you're like, hey, you want to do this podcast? Okay. There's not much to think about. Let's press the record button. Let's just go. It's going to be what it's going to be. And you
And
already have loosened up. It's so
yeah,
fun.
I hope so, but I feel fine.
So I would just like to say, as an episode of Meet Me at the Y, I think there's one of many because we can dig down deep into so many of them. but to understand each other a little bit better and understand why we are here, why we do what we do, understand that it constantly is going to change.
Yep.
This is just where we're at right now, right?
Incrementally better, one thought at a time, one word at a time, one action at a time, and one day at a time.
And I'm going to have to say one life at a time.
Okay.